Hi, everyone. I want to talk about this distinction from whole life architecture, which is our program where participants are creating a life by design as opposed to merely tolerating their life by default. And this distinction goes what you believe, you perceive. So this is actually quite profound because in our society, we have this idea that that confuses knowing with belief. That we kind of get into this weird space where we conflate these two words as though they're the same thing. Just when someone says, I believe something, we kind of interpret it or hear it as though they know something. And I know on the face of it, if you were to just pause and think of it, you'd say, well, no, I know those are two different words, but we don't operate as though they're two different words. When people believe something, they're acting on it as though it's an absolute and they're knowing it. And here's the thing, whatever you believe, you perceive. So, this is what psychologists would call confirmation bias. So if you're believing a particular thing, you're going to perceive evidence for that in your world, in your relationships, in your health, in your business, in your career. Whatever you believe, you perceive. So that begs the question, what do you believe? Because whatever you are believing, you're perceiving. And if you're perceiving it, chances are you're probably then acting on it. If you're perceiving something, you're going to be in reaction to it, as opposed to being able to be a response to it. So understanding your belief system and connecting deeply to the underlying premise that informs your belief system is part of the work that we do in whole life architecture. And it's absolutely critical to being able to appropriately engage with your life in a way as a creator, as opposed to just merely consuming life. That we are so talented and sophisticated as creators, as human beings, we even create our perception. What you perceive, you believe. You have the ability to create your perception and by altering your belief system, because what you believe, you perceive. So what do you believe? I mean, have you ever asked yourself the question, what do you honestly believe? Because whatever you believe, you're going to perceive it. If you believe something about how society should look, if you believe something about how people should be, if you believe about what is acceptable, what is unacceptable, if you have beliefs about right and wrong, good and bad, whatever you believe, you'll perceive. And then what happens is you become convinced that you know it because you just perceived it. So get this. What you perceive, you believe, and then what you believe, or what you perceive rather, you then find evidence for, and now you think you know it. But the only reason you found evidence for it is because of the confirmation bias effect, which was that you believed it in the first place. There were things you didn't believe, and therefore you didn't perceive it, and therefore you didn't find evidence for it in your life. And so it's outside of your view. It becomes a blind spot. And this is why we have challenges in terms of, relating to one another, because we're all trapped in our own perceptual worldview. We're all trapped in our own perceptual experience. And what I perceive is based on my belief systems. So if I believe something, I'm going to perceive it. And if I perceive it, I'm convinced that I know it. And then I become trapped in that. And then I'm wondering why other people are not experiencing life in the same way that I am. It's because their belief system was different. They perceived something different. And then they got trapped in a different framework or construct of knowing. And when those two people meet each other, it's almost like we're speaking different languages. It's like we're confused. So what we teach people to do in whole life architecture is to be the creator of their belief system, to not extract it from other people or other circumstances and to adopt it as their own, but to actually be the originator of what you believe. Why do you believe this? And what is it that you believe? And as long as you're comfortable with that, that's all that matters, because as creator, whatever you believe, you will perceive. And whatever you perceive, you will conflate for knowing, and whatever you believe you know, which is really all that is, you will act on, and your life will take the shape of your actions. So we ask this question in whole life architecture, what do you believe you know? And it becomes confusing for some people because they're like, what do you mean, what do I believe I know? I know things, but most knowing is actually originates in belief. I believe something, I perceive it. Because I perceive it, I relate to it as objectively real, and therefore I say I know it. And because I believe I know it, I then act on it, and then my life takes the trajectory of my actions. So if you're looking at your life and you're saying, this area of my life doesn't align with me, I don't like it, I'm dissatisfied with it, you reverse engineer that part of your life. Well, why do you have that part of your life in your life? Why does it look the way that it does? Why do the people who constitute the interactions in that part of your life, why are they there and not other people? So if you start to get curious about the things that constitute your life, you work backwards and you're like, well, this is in my life. I have this job, this relationship, I have this health situation because I thought I knew something. I believed I knew something that had me take an action that made that part of my life occur. Well, what was the thing you knew? Well, I thought I knew X about relationships. I thought I knew X about career. I thought I knew X about my wellness. And okay, why do you think you knew that? Well, because I perceived this, this, and this. I saw this, I observed this, someone told me this, I perceived this, and therefore I thought it was evidence, and then that informed my knowing. Okay, so you perceived that. What belief preceded your perceiving that? And then you get to the root of your belief systems and you realize, oh my gosh, I'm a creator of everything. This belief led me to perceive this, led me to believe I knew this, led me to take this action, and now I have the life that I have. So we are literally the creators of everything in our life, and if not directly the creators of the things in our life, we're the creators of the conditions that precipitate the things in our life. And so my invitation for all of us is to consider, what do you believe? Because what you believe, you will perceive. And what you perceive, you will believe you know. And what you believe you know, you will act on and you will create in your life. You can create a life by design. You don't need to tolerate a life by default. But until you get to the source of your belief systems, and until you take creator control of your belief systems, you will be like a ship tossed at sea with the conditions that everyone else is putting on you, because you're just going to try to conform to those conditions, and you will find evidence for why conforming to those conditions is the so-called truth. And you will be trapped in what you're right about, right with air quotes, or you'll be trapped in what you believe you know, not realizing you don't know it at all. It started as a belief system. It started as a creative act.